And we welcome you to the February edition of Eye on the Storm. I'm Randy Payton, the Sports Information Director here at the University of Rio Grande, joined as always by Athletic Director Jeff Lanham. We have a packed show today, and Jeff, anytime you got that overlap with the winter sports and the spring sports, it creates a packed show.
That is right, Randy, and we're ready to go. I guess we need to go ahead and get started.
We've got a guest in studio today. He's Phil Carl, the assistant bowling coach here at the University of Rio Grande, the first year bowling program. And Phil, first of all, welcome to the show, and big news for you guys, first year program and headed to sectional tournament play.
That's right. We qualified 78th in the country. The top 80 were invited to the ITC sectional on the weekend of March 10th and 11th. We'll be going to Smyrna, Tennessee to compete.
We mentioned first year program and a lot of success, and you could tell through the scores as the season went along. Team continued to get better and better, and you guys actually this past weekend were part of the American Heartland Conference tournament and finished third out of 21 teams. That obviously shows the improvement that you were able to have throughout the course of the year. Yes,
we've been improving steadily all along. The first couple of tournaments were a learning experience for both the coaches and the players, and as the season went along, we just kept improving until we earned enough points to get to the sectional. And this past weekend we finished third, which was our best finish so far.
Now, Phil, your background that you bring to us, give us some of what's your bowling background as a coach and different things?
All right, my bowling background, I'm a USBC's silver certified coach. I was an 8-year PBA member, competed on about 30 tournaments until I decided that I was a donator rather than a competitor. My professional background is I'm an educator. I'm a retired school administrator. I did coach other sports, basketball, tennis, or not tennis, track and field, cross country, girls cheerleading 1 year at the junior high level. Yeah. And I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in physical education.
And you mentioned that kind of a learning experience for the coaches and a learning experience for all of our athletes, student athletes, because this is everybody's first time in competing at a collegiate level. Is that correct?
Yes. Most of the players had high school experience. Both Brett and I, neither one of us had high school bowling coaching experience, so it was new to us. I learned a lot from recruiting last spring as far as what's going on with the high school bowling, and I carried that knowledge over into the college tournaments.
You got to be excited about going into the sectionals. I mean, that's phenomenal for a first-year program.
That's right. That was a dream come true for us. I mean, in the back of our minds, that was the goal we had. And as the season went along, the goal became closer and closer. And the last weekend, we didn't compete the last weekend. There were some big tournaments going on, so we were just praying that we would hold our position, and we did.
Right. And for some people, it's you earn points when you participate in certain types of tournaments.
Correct.
And since you didn't compete, there were other people that were competing that earned points that you weren't available to. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So, and the idea that you finished third and was a few pins shy of being in that championship game, one or two. Now you're going in and you're competing against some of these people that you've already beaten this past weekend in this 20-team tournament down in Tennessee, the sectionals. Correct.
Yes. In our sectionals, teams that we've beaten, we bowled against about 10 of the teams already. We have a 10-25 record against them, which is still commendable, I think, for the first-year program. We beat some big-name teams, Ohio State, on several occasions, Ball State.
And got Wright State last weekend.
That was the big one. Got Wright State last weekend.
Yeah. Kind of talk about the progress. Obviously, the men have advanced a lot quicker than the women have, and I know that's something that while the season continues to go on, you guys continue to go out and recruit and try to get the ladies up to the level that the men are.
That's correct. We are actively recruiting both men and women. I just got an email this morning about half an hour ago from one of the girls that we made an offer to, and she has accepted it, the girl from St. Mary's. We've signed 3 other fellows for next year. We've got 2 other girls that we've signed with offers off to several others that we're waiting to hear back from.
And just to clarify before we let you go, the sectional that's in Smyrna, Tennessee, the dates are what on that?
March 10th and 11th. Actually, the singles events are March 9th. Then the team event is March 11th or 10th and 11th.
And we should point out you've actually got one female in Macy Deddy who is going to go down and compete as an individual.
Correct. Yeah.
So
that's the first day of the.
That's the first day of the
tournament.
tournament.
Everybody
correct.
can compete as an individual.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
well, we wish you good luck as you guys go down there and try to finish high enough, I guess, to reach the national championship.
Correct.
Congrats on a great season.
Thank you very
Fantastic.
much.
Yes.
All right, that's Phil Carl, the assistant bowling coach here at the University of Rio Grande. His team headed to sectional tournament play. Another team that's headed to tournament play is Rio Grande women's basketball. They took on Alice Lloyd in the River States Conference Championship last night, and regardless of the result of that, we're already headed to the national tournament out in Sioux City, Iowa, and we had a chance earlier in the week to sit down and chat with Rio head coach David Smalley, and we'll hear from the coach now. Randy Payton, the Sports Information Director here at the University of Rio Grande, joined now by women's basketball head coach David Smalley. You guys, by the time this interview airs, it'll be after the championship meeting with Alice Lloyd in the River States Conference women's basketball tournament. But regardless of the results, you're headed to the national tournament, and what a successful season it has been.
Randy, it's been a great tournament. This will be our 7th trip to the national tournament appearance, and as anybody that's followed our program knows, we're still trying to knock on that door. What door are we trying to knock on, Randy? Try to win a game out there. And but real proud of our players at this particular point. We've had, I think, a remarkable year. It's been a great year. We called them the Cardiac Kids, and, you know, a lot of things have fallen in place. We have a great group of young ladies, good talent, and just seems to just keep just being resourceful and resilient, and just continue to win some ball games. We find ourselves in the championship of the River States Conference tournament, which, you know, against Alice Lloyd on the west side, the winner, and then in the east side. I guess that's just the way it should end up, right?
Yep, that's the way the standings played it out. If you were successful against Alice Lloyd, that would be a 30-win season that you're taking with you out to Sioux City, Iowa. It's a first for the program. You had a 22-game winning streak earlier this year. This has been a group that you thought they had a chance to be successful, but they have been they've gone above that, I guess.
Well, they have, and they've taken this year to higher levels. And I'll be honest with you, in the first 10 to 12 games, if we were 7-5, 8-4, 9-3, would have been probably okay with that. But the players, you know, took it upon themselves, and they, you know, just got the job done, and found ourselves getting in a roll. And to break the previous record of 16 games in a row a couple of years ago, to go 22, this is quite a daunting task, I believe. And it was an unbelievable ride at that particular point. And now again, we find ourselves, you know, on the verge. You mentioned 30 games. If we win, beat Alice Lloyd tomorrow, that'll be 30 games. I've never had any part of anything like that. 27 was the most that I've had in my tenure here. We did that a couple of times. So to be at 28, 29, and 3 right now, and to get a chance for number 30, that's an awesome feeling.
It's been literally a team effort all year long, too. You had 2 first-team all-conference players in Alexis Payne and Sydney Holden. Jasmine Smith makes the second team. Those have been your big 3, but everybody at some point or another has had a hand in it.
Well, they have, and you know, and you go down through the entire season. You know, you can look at various games that were won by people coming off the bench. I know Chelsea Sloan probably pulled us out of 2 or 3 games. Megan Lidke pulled us out of the IU Southeast game. Jimmy Howe at the Point Park game. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's just a team effort, and that's one of the things that we've been trying to preach. It's everybody contributing, and we've all had a part in that. And my coaching staff, I've just been blessed with, great coaches that put the energy and the effort into it. Coach Markham, who played in the program and certainly knows, what the program's all about, and Coach Thompson in her second year, who came from a very good basketball program down in Alabama. Coach Walker's joining us at this particular point, and of course Coach Hoover, who's always a steady foundation block in our program. So it's been a great ride. It's been a great team effort from the coaching staff all the way down through the support staff and through the players, certainly.
The process of going to the national tournament, and it is a process. You'll be leaving here on Saturday, going by ground, going to split that trip up into a couple of days. You'll arrive out there in Sioux City on Sunday, and then I guess practices Monday and Tuesday. And question I haven't asked you before, the tournament actually starts on Wednesday. Would you rather be in the group that plays on Wednesday or play on Thursday?
To be honest with you, I would like to be on the group that plays on Wednesday. Get that first W. You got Thursday to kind of regroup and to prepare and then go on into the next round. But, at this point, we're going to take whatever's thrown at us. There's so many activities that's going to be going on out there. We get an opportunity to work with Special Olympics on one of those mornings. We'll also have an elementary school that will adopt us, and we'll go do a little clinic there. And then of course, you have the Parade of Champions and the banquet to kick everything off. So it's a very festive time, and for the players, and I only have a couple that's been through that. Alexis Payne, who's in her fifth year senior. She went in 2014 and 15. Brooke Markham also went, who's on the coaching staff. But everybody else, it's going to be a new experience. So a lot of great things coming up, and I don't mind the ride out there in the Black Beast, as we call it, the people mover at the University of Rio Grande. It's a nice vehicle, and Kenny Decker, our driver throughout most of the year, will be taking us. We're going to take a couple days to get out there and get comfortable and get acclimated, and hopefully get a couple of wins under our belt.
Last thing before we let you go, I guess the reason I brought up maybe playing on Thursday is the fact you mentioned you only have one player that's ever been involved in it before, and maybe if you get pushed back to Thursday before you play, they have a time to get acclimated through the awe of being out there in the Tyson Event Center and just the tournament itself.
Well, and that's a good point, because that does have a lot to do with it. Those teams, research indicates those teams that's been out there in the past and get that familiarity seem to calm down and have a little more success. But, at this point, the way we travel, the things that we've done, playing down at the show down in Kingsport, and all the things that we've done this year, our kids are very resilient, and I think they'll be ready to go. I'm looking more at it from a strategic standpoint. Get out there, get that first game, get a day under your belt, get some rest, and prepare for that next team. But we're going to have a lot of fans that's going out there as well. A lot of this group is well traveled by parents and fans, and we're just looking for a great experience. It'll be a memory that will be etched in our players' minds, and certainly in my mind. It's a well-deserved memory that will be there for them to think about down the road.
Good luck out there.
Thanks, Randy.
That's head coach David Smalley, the women's basketball head coach here at the University of Rio Grande. We'll have more of Eye on the Storm when we return in a moment. And it's the February edition of Eye on the Storm. Randy Payton, Jeff Lanham back with you, and we talked bowling, we talked women's basketball, and now we transition into something that currently is not offered at the University of Rio Grande, but it might be. Esports.
Esports, and I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. I say that a lot. It's maybe one of the most upcoming, most popular sports in athletics that we've got coming around. It's the popularity of gaming itself is just unbelievable. The statistics show that, I think the year was 2014, that more people watched the World Championship of League of Legends, that's the game that's played in esports, than watched the NBA Finals and the Super Bowl combined. So that it's just hard to believe.
Never thought you'd ever
you
say
would
that.
never think that that's going to happen. And I'm not a gaming person. I grew up playing Pong, you know, back and forth. So I don't know how all this happens, but we've got the NAI has actually got a new organization dealing with esports. It is NACE, N-A-C-E, which is the National Association of Collegiate Esports, located in the NAI office, and they are there to help promote and get started with teams. I think in the last, I want to say in the last 3 years, when NACE began, they had 6 members, and they are now over 60 members of the NAI.
And some of them close by.
Yes, yes. We've got a number of schools in the state of Ohio that are starting this, being involved with it, and so with that, it's just something that is moving forward, and we are looking at it. We're looking at our feasibility. The popularity is just going through the roof right now, and you can see some of the games that are being played. Or this shows you the timeline of the NACE. There it has 2017, 42 members, and actually that was a year ago, almost a year ago. Now that's popped up to 60. So these are the games that are being played. I think we've got a slide that shows that, talking about schools that offer scholarships in this, and we're up to that 60 number. So looking at the games that are being played, League of Legends is the #1 game, followed by Overwatch, and you can see all the different
NBA
games
2K on
they're all looking at. And this started out in the early 2000s, both professionally and as a club. And it's still working professionally around the world, and we are looking at bringing this into the athletic program and actually going out and recruiting student athletes to compete in esports.
What kind of timeline should it happen here at Rio Grande?
Well,
what kind of timeline are we looking at?
We're looking at fall of 2019. That's to put it into our budget for the startup costs and different things that are involved with that. So that's kind of our timeline that we're looking to. You know, with the idea of bringing in anywhere from 10 to 15 people, but you could have teams as many. There's schools in Ohio that have 40 to 50 people involved in this, and that just becomes a situation of, do we have enough places that 40 or 50 people could go? So we are somewhat limited in that. So you know, it's something of the future. It's something I think we're going to get involved in. You know, there's a lot of things people talk about, problems of them setting and not going to class and playing games all the time. Well, we can control that with coaches and directors. Plus, in looking at articles and reading about this, there are companies out there who are coming in. The IBMs of the world are coming in, and their IT department are coming in recruiting these people, these student athletes on these teams because of their computer background. So I don't know where it's going to go. It hasn't hit the top yet, and I think we want to get on that train. So here's you a great example of the participation. This is people that's coming and paying to come watch these games being played on a big screen in front of them. So I think this is League of Legends that's being played. You can see up in their 2 right-hand corners there. Those are the games that's being played at that venue.
Can we transform the new Oliver Arena?
We can. That's exactly right. Yes.
Hey, but before we get off the subject, we mentioned some other schools in Ohio that have it or are going to esports. Name a few of those.
Well, we're looking at starting next year. Shawnee State has this. Miami of Ohio, Lourdes, UNOH, Tiffin, Mount Vernon is talking about that. What's the football school over in Division III football? Help me out. No, not Mount St. Joe. I'm sorry.
Mount something. I'm blank.
We'll get it here in a second. We'll come back to that.
Darn you for doing that. Mount Union.
Mount Union. There we go. I had the Mount correct. Yes. So there's a number of schools that are involved in looking at this. So you know, that number that's 60 plus 62 right now is going to pop up before we know it, it's going to be in the hundreds. So we want to be a part of that. I think we want to be a part of that.
Kind of an interesting concept that we'll follow as the months go by here at the University of Rio Grande. In our closing minutes, we want to check out what's going on with our other sports and the winter sports and as they wind down, and then the spring sports as they have begun. Track and field on the indoor side of it this week. Matter of fact, as this show airs, the indoor national championships out in Pittsburgh, Kansas will be underway. Rio Grande sending 6 athletes out there: Xavier Parker, Cameron Hott, Nicola Angelic, and Alex Nichols on the men's side, Tiana Petty-Craft and Katie Browning on the women's side. And obviously we wish those 6 the best of luck, but anytime you can get kids that reach the national level, particularly individuals, it's a big thing.
Right, and not only do we have a few of those that are ranked in top 10s, and which means they're there.
Got a good chance at finishing for an
All-American.
All-American.
Right, they want to finish All-American or even higher. I mean, we've got some potentials that could strive for a national championship. Would love to see that again this year.
Yeah, I think was it last year?
It was last year.
Tiana Petty earned a national championship.
Came in ranked 12th and then finished first. Just who knows? That's the reason you compete. That's the reason you have these days.
Hopefully the long trip to Pittsburgh, Kansas won't get them.
That's right.
Obviously can take your legs, no pun intended, out of you when you make a trip that far. Men's basketball, their season came to an end in the regular season finale against Carlo. They finished 10-20. They lost that game, I think, by 76-70 was the final score. One of 9 games out of those 20 that they lost that happened by 8 points or less, and obviously a break here or there, they might still be playing.
Well, and even out of those 9, I think 4 of those were on last-second shots, or under 10 seconds of scoring. So, yeah, it's we lose Will Hill, who has just had a tremendous year these last 2 years. Potential All-American for us. He's got some honors coming his way, and I think we've got some youth in there too. So developing and getting better. I think Coach French will have those guys ready to roll next year.
And obviously Rio stuck in the East Division, where on the men's side this year, maybe as a whole, the West Division was a little stronger. But the top half of the East Division with Indiana University East and West Virginia Tech, when 4 of your games have to come against those 2 teams.
And East may be one of the best teams in the country. I think they're number 2 ranked right now, and could easily be, in fact, receive some number 1 votes.
Right.
So, yes, very good. And Tech always, Bob does a great job over there at Tech.
Rio Grande softball has its season underway. The team off to a 6-4 start. They're the number 23 team in the country in the preseason poll. 6-4. That record a little deceiving, though. They've got 3 one-run losses and have played an incredibly tough schedule.
And they're not done with that. They've got next week. They've got some pretty big games coming up down in Columbus, Georgia, which is probably, people could argue, is the best. You call it a tournament in the nation for NAIA schools.
4 of the 5 teams they play are in the top 20.
Right. Yeah. So we play 19, 15, number 5,
and number 13.
And number 13. So Coach M is nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, he's getting prepared for the conference and postseason play. In his mind and. It's good. We got a young team. We lost a lot.
And
my
doing
goodness,
it with a very young team.
Yeah, and throughout some really young people, but they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
They return to action actually this weekend. A couple of games that they have just added. They will be out in Indianapolis on Friday to take on Huntington College or Huntington University, and then will take on Taylor University Saturday before making their spring break trip south next week. Baseball off to a bit of a tough start, and again, they've got some holes to fill on their roster, playing a tough schedule. They're 4-12. As we do this show, they have lost 7 games in a row, and Brad Warnemont trying to get his team, the ship righted, so to speak, before conference starts.
Well, and the disadvantage we have is just not being able to go outside. I mean, we're hitting in the cage and we're hitting down in the gym, and Brad always has got, Coach Warmont's got them all playing at the end of the year, and they get caught up at that time, you know, playing into the tournament, and that's when they play their best. So again, I don't think there's anything to worry with him. I think he's going to come along strong.
Well, we invite everyone to come out and watch. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. Baseball scheduled to get its season underway at home on Friday against Ohio Christian, and then again at home next weekend against Asbury. Softball will start its home schedule on the 16th of March against IU Southeast. That is going to wrap up our February edition of Eye on the Storm. We appreciate Phil Carl and Coach Smalley for joining us on this edition, and we invite you to come back and catch us in the March edition of Eye on the Storm. For Jeff Lanham, Randy Payton, so long, everyone.